following movie review is rated R for retarded. In a world full of crime, corruption, and destruction, one man decides to review movies. This is Devil Dog at the Movies. Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with another Devil Dog at the Movies. Even though I'm currently trying to pass a kidney stone, I could not miss out on doing a review of one of the movies I've been waiting for a long time. This movie is almost 20 years in the making, and finally I had the chance to see Bill and Ted's Face the Music, aka Bill and Ted Part 3. Now, what to say about it? Well, there's lots of things I gotta say about this movie. First of all, I'm not going to try to really worry about any sort of spoilers because currently, because of the current global pandemic, it's not in theaters. And if it is, I don't know because I just watched it here at home. So you can watch it now if you want to, which is pretty interesting. I would have rather seen this in the theater. But there's certain things that I have to discuss about Bill and Ted 3. First of all, I'm going to get down to a rough synopsis of the plot. Bill and Ted are taken to the future and told that they have a set amount of time to finally write the song that's going to save humanity and mankind, because at a certain time, all of reality is going to end, past, present, and future, unless they write the magic song. So they go on a quest, jumping through different timelines in an old classic phone booth in order to meet up with themselves in hopes that they can find this magic song that they needed to write. Now, the main focus of this movie is not solely on Bill and Ted's adventures. In fact, I'd say it's 50-50 between them and their daughters. Now, one key thing that I have to point out that they didn't really explain was at the end of Bill and Ted 2, they clearly show their babies and say that they're dudes, they're boys. Now, they were clever about this in the fact that they still call them dudes in this, and so they kind of got around it, but they didn't really explain why they have daughters instead of boys, but that's not a big deal. The actresses they cast as playing the daughters of Bill and Ted do an excellent job. Excellent job! And for the most part, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by every single person's acting in this movie. I had said something in the early reveal trailer that I thought that Keanu Reeves was phoning it in. And after watching the movie, I can say, no, you could tell he had a good time with himself, and he did a really, really good job. The parts where he played multiple versions of themselves were by far the best parts of this film. In fact, there's several parts when they're traveling through time in the future to actually go and find their magical song they wrote. They visit themselves when they're like pretty much, scumbags, really. One time they're like British scumbags that are like alcoholics that try shooting them. Another time they're in prison with these big muscle-bound outfits on. And honestly, the effects, while some were kind of not that great, the practical effects and the makeup was fantastic in this movie. Especially when they went and seen their older selves, when like almost on their deathbeds where they're really old. The makeup was very well done, and they did a fantastic job. Now, while they're doing that, trying to get the song that they wrote to save mankind, their daughters decide, hey, we need to make the band like they did in the original movie, by going and finding historical dudes and getting together an epic band. And they go and they get great, memorable people like Jimi Hendrix, Louis Armstrong, Mozart, and a couple other people to round out their perfect band. And yes, they even get Death to return. The same guy reprises his role, and he stole the show in the second movie. But honestly, in this one, there's a different character they created that I think is the funniest character of all kind that stole the show, and it's Dennis. Yes, Dennis, and let me explain. You see, the future people, especially the future mother, feels as if that Bill and Ted aren't going to be able to write the song and save humanity. And she feels that by killing Bill and Ted, that will actually stop the end of the apocalypse and all that stuff and save everybody. So she creates this robot and sends him out to kill Bill and Ted. And the robot, by far, is the funniest character in this movie. His acting is just so funny. He's so sporadic. And his personality is so weird. And he even goes by the name of Dennis Caleb McCoy, which they ended up naming after her ex-boyfriend. And by far, the robot Dennis is the best part in this movie. And it does take a while before they get into really stuff going on. Now, another thing I have to say is it does have the charm and the heart of the original 2 movies, but it doesn't have a good soundtrack. I only noticed like one song in this entire movie. I feel that it misses from having a good soundtrack throughout the movie like the original 2 did, and that does bring it down a little bit, even though it still is a very entertaining film. Now, the other thing I have to point out is, like I said, the half of it is focusing on the daughters that are gathering the historical dudes for this band, and the other half focuses on Bill and Ted. And I didn't really like that because it took too much time away from the fact that this is supposed to be a Bill and Ted movie. And, I understand it's like a passing of the torch to the daughters, but I'm not really, that's I have a problem with it. But the reason why they're able to bring death back into it is basically they send the robot Dennis to kill Bill and Ted, and he's such a schmuck. He ends up going back to where he thinks Bill and Ted's going to be, and his daughters show up with Mozart and everyone else, and the robot kills them all. Okay, so they all go to hell. Well, they find out about this. Bill and Ted find out about this, and they, meet up with Dennis, and they're like, "Hey, man, kill us!" And Dennis is such a funny character. He's like, he has a guilt trip. He's a robot, but he has a guilt trip, so he can't do it. So he goes to kill himself, and when he does, Bill and Ted jump in, and they all get killed, so they can all go to hell. And that's where the movie really starts getting really funny, is with Dennis and when they're in hell. Because, the demons are like, hey, man, that's weird. Look, a robot's in hell. Because somehow, even though he's a robot, Dennis goes to hell with Bill and Ted. And has some really funny parts. And they're able to meet up with Death once again. And they make amends for the fact of how they had a falling out with him. Because he went out to try to make his own solo band and try to take the name of Wild Stallions. And they work out a deal where he comes back into the band. And, they all pretty much get together in a SWAT band, because I forgot to mention Dennis also killed his father, Bill and Ted's father. And, so they all go back and they write this special song, because all these realms are merging in the world, and all of existence is about to be destroyed. And they find out the true secrets to writing the song in this movie, Face the Music. It's not the fact it's just Bill and Ted. It's their daughters, and it's everyone. The main plot and point of this movie is togetherness. Love and togetherness of everybody. Because in order to stop mankind and all of these different realms being destroyed, everybody had to come together and play the music at the same time. They had to all face the music. So, like I said, the plot is corny. It is stupid because it's Bill and Ted. But honestly, it does have the charm and magic of the original 2, though I can't really say it's as good as them. I still like the first one's charm, and I love the second one's creativity. Hands down, it was so creative. And this one is not quite as good. I honestly feel that it is 20 years too late. They should have came out with this about maybe 10, 15 years ago. It took them way too damn long to make this movie. And I really do think that that's a problem with it. I do appreciate the fact that they wanted to make sure that they had the right script before they made the film. And it does show. It does show because the characters all return. All the original actors come back and play their roles. And they all do a fantastic job. And it doesn't quite capture the magic of the original 2 movies, but it is still a good, entertaining film. And it is nice to see the continuation of these characters. And of course, at the beginning, they do have a nice little heartfelt moment where you get to see Rufus again. It is a pretty much a hologram of him coming out of the old phone booth that explains the history of Bill and Ted and how the wild stallions are going to save mankind. And, it was touching the fact that they did actually have him in it, even though he was just a hologram, because George Carlin was fantastic, and it was nice to see that pretty much just about every main character in the original and this movie actually reprises their role in some way or another, or they at least have some tie-in with it. I thought that was brilliant. Honestly, the acting of the historical dudes was okay, but I don't think they were quite as good as the people from the very first Bill and Ted. The people that played the characters in the first Bill and Ted, you honestly believed that Socrates really thought he was Socrates. You really thought Napoleon was a jerk. And it was good. It had its comical charm. And by today's standards, I can see how they updated it and changed some things. Like a lot of certain things that you can't say anymore that are politically incorrect. But in the end, it is a good movie, and I'm glad they made it. And it's not that bad. It is a good movie. Honestly, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It brought back some good old memories, made me feel young again. I love seeing these characters, and I know it ain't going to happen, but I can only cross my fingers and hope that maybe it won't take them another 20 years to make another Bill and Ted movie. I would love to see it. I don't know how they're going to do it. And the end song they wrote wasn't that good. It really wasn't, but it wasn't supposed to be good. It was supposed to show the fact that everyone came together as a whole, amalgamation of love and caring, and that's what saved the universe. Not the fact it was a rocking good song. Make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the credits, because they do have an end credit scene showing old Bill and Ted right before they feel like they're going to die, and they're like, dudes, we got to do one last thing before we die. And they jam. They do some really good jamming on their guitars before they sit down. Like, you still got it, dude. And they clap hands, and that's when the movie ends. My personal end feeling of Bill and Ted Face the Music is, I give it a C+. I give it a C+. It still has some of the magic and some of the charm of the original two, but it has lost it over the years in terms of just the fact they took too long to make this. I feel with the bombastic nature of the second film, this one is a decent middle ground between the first and second. It's got some pretty good stuff with the different historical figures coming in to play. It's got some decent effects, and honestly, by far, Dennis steals the show. Kind of like Death did in the second movie. Dennis, hands down, is fantastic in this movie. This was Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video. Let me know if you've seen Bill and Ted's Face the Music and what you think about it. Leave in the comments below what you think. Hit the bell icon to stay updated whenever I release any new videos. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. And remember, I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out, dude.